I saw State of Decay 2 today, which I was very
he's a
excited
snake.
about. But I saw a demo. It was the last demo that they showed at E3. That was what I was trying to watch and pay attention to while the bells were chirping and they're saying, "Get the hell out of this convention center." But in the podcast, in the previous weeks, I talked about how PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, I felt, as strange as it is, I felt like it kind of lessened my enthusiasm for State of Decay, just having like a nice tense experience, basically permadeath, foraging, scavenging. I don't really care too much about zombie lore, but seeing that demo, it rekindled everything that I loved about the original State of Decay. Like, they hit that progression beat so hard. It's like, it is, the UI is still not ideal. The first State of Decay was rough, but still, like, you can see, oh my god, I can understand why I'm really going to be into this. And there's this one character in our demo, I assume is the same as yours, where it's like, hey, this character used to work at a garden, and so she is she's very efficient when it comes to farming. So because she has this meter that's so high, based on 1,000 random traits for all these characters that you can find, right? Then you can make a farming outpost add-on to your house, but the construction of that will bring in zombie hordes, and you have to fend that off. But
Wait, what?
Look, when you're building a farm, it makes a lot of noise, and that makes
I thought
big,
it was
fat,
like they
bloated
smell like
zombies.
radishes or carrots or something.
No. It's just the noise of construction is a risk.
Radish.
Yeah.
It's radish lust. You just can't get enough of those radishes.
Vegan zombies.
They're so beautiful. But it was funny just because...
Must be in Portland. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. But in this demo...
Sorry, Portland.
There were super early gameplay, and the game crashed, which the developers is just like a worst-case scenario. But I felt like it worked to their advantage, just being a huge State of Decay fan, because at the start of the demo, they emphasized so much, like, hey, this is a dynamic world. If you've played the first State of Decay, like, we don't know how this is going to go, especially with co-op now, how the other players are going to do.
Real quick.
Yeah.
That they say that in front of so many E3 demos.
100%.
That you're always just like, because I bet if I were to talk to you about our Monster Hunter demo where they
I think we're going to talk about it later, and that's the exact analogy I want to make.
I bet
We said mine was unique.
Yeah, so this is for Reiner.
So,
But
anyway.
with State of Decay, when it crashed, that meant that for the second half there wasn't co-op, and so everything was a little more difficult. And I think that even though they saw it as a bad thing, I think it was a net positive because you got to see how different it was, where it's like, okay, now I really have to gun it, get these items, and then get back to the house and try and fend it off all by myself. And they were just shocked. They're like, oh my god, now this wall is going down because of this. Tiffany, the gardener, has to run out and try and fend off the zombies. She's getting taken away by a bloater and just blown to smithereens. Like, it really ended up elevating the State of Decay experience for me.
Yeah.
And it has rekindled everything that I loved about the original State of Decay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add, actually. I mean, like, from what you said, I think that they really do hammer home the aspect of, like, the simulation and the community building aspect.
Yeah. And it's so unique.
Is really what said, like, that, to me, that game was never a game that was about, like, oh, I'm a character going out in a zombie world and killing zombies and getting items. For me, it was always... What was always so great about it is how everything fed back into that loop, into that, like, base building simulation and stuff.
But it's the sim angle that I think we're both into, and I hope they don't push story too much. If there's like some unique dialogue, little moments, that's fine. But I don't want cutscenes with these characters. I love them as stats and quips.
So here's a few things about this. I actually put up a story on our website that's just sort of like, these are a handful of, like, things that I noticed in my demo that just seemed like, wow, that's a big improvement over the original, because in a lot of ways, and I guess maybe you have a different take, but, like, it feels very similar to the first one. Like, it's not like State of Decay 2 is like, oh, we've drastically reinvented State of Decay. It seems like it's just like, okay, we had a good idea last time, and this time we're making it work better.
Right.
And, like, for me, one of those things was the fact that, like, you can now, like, if there's someone in your community that you want to, like, come with you on a supply run, you can be like, hey, AI companion, let's go get something.
I could have sworn, was that just an expansion thing with the first State of Decay? I could have sworn that was in there.
You absolutely could not do that in the first
right?
one.
Maybe that was
there were.
DLC.
I mean, maybe later down the line there was, but at least like in the version I played, that was a very conspicuous thing, because it's like, all right, we have 10 people here at this commune who are interested in surviving. It would be in our best interest to send more than just one dude out into zombie, but, like, you couldn't. And then on the other side of that, they've also added co-op, which the game was just begging for, I think.
And it's a really cool way to trigger it, where you can register in your game if you're up for volunteering for this type of thing. But if you need help in your version of State of Decay 2, you just literally shoot a flare into the sky. It's like an item. And then when you shoot that flare up, then it'll like Dark Souls warp another player in and they can help you out.
You just constantly keep a flare in the sky?
And then people
like,
always come
please.
for you. Yeah. Just a minigun of players.
One player to camp, just constantly.
And then instead of a zombie horde, it's just a horde of other players.
Then it becomes Rust instead. Is that the Naked Dude game?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's so many Naked Dude games. But on the improvement side, I was second guessing myself, but maybe they changed this from the first game to something I really loved. But they're talking about morale, which is a really fun idea in a game like this, you know, an open world action survival game, where the overall team and like the home base's morale will change, including little things like one of these random traits can be one of the characters snores when he sleeps, and that'll lower morale for the entire home base, which is so brilliant. But they said like, oh, if morale gets too low, you get less XP and you build things slower. Or some characters might just leave or have a violent exit where they might like shoot some other people on their way out the door.
Hell.
But in the first one, it's dark, but I thought it was so unique that if morale gets too low, like
just suicide.
yeah, they'll just put a gun in their mouth. And like I wasn't 100% that was in there, and if I was misremembering that, so I was trying to like ask questions in that field of like, yeah, but what's the most extreme case of low morale on a personal level? And they're like, oh, you know, they could just leave and maybe you'll encounter them later in the world. And I was like, yeah, but is there anything more extreme than that? And they didn't bring up suicide. Maybe they just had a no suicide mention rule at E3, or
And
maybe
you're like,
it's not
what
in
if
this
I have a
one.
pistol? Like, what?
Yeah.
No, they use whatever weapons they have to. Never mind.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
know.
But I mirror your thoughts from yesterday's podcast.
So
I'm really excited.
The one thing about it that I still have to worry about is that, and I don't remember if we talked about this yesterday or not, is like the technical angle of it.
Sure.
Which is the fact that like, it's like for all of the things that I loved conceptually about the original State of Decay.
Yeah.
It got so hard to appreciate that because of the many ways it was technically falling apart and like breaking at the seams, right? Yep. So my demo, I was very heartened by the fact that it's like, wow, like they went through that whole thing and like I didn't see a single like weird clipping on the zombie. Saw the co-op worked. There was no no crashing or anything like that. So I was just like, wow, great. Looks like they're improving on this. Not that 20 minutes is enough to judge that, but I mean just from a quick take. Hanson's experience sounds a little different from mine.
It is the end of the show, and you cannot hold the software accountable. Like, it's E3, it's super early, stuff happens, and so this is not an indicator of where it's going to go. But I just have to imagine, because that seemed like number one with a bullet for critiques of the first State of Decay.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'd imagine that's the top of their whiteboard is let's QA the hell out of this
Make
thing.
it work.
Functional, please. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.